Lino Zambito, star witness in the Charbonneau Commission, is seen at his home in Lorraine, K on Friday, June 15, 2018. Paul Chiasson, the Canadian Press 4 stories in the news for Monday, June 18, report details child poverty in all federal ridings. 40% of the children in Finance Minister Bill Morneau's downtown Toronto riding live in poverty, one of the highest rates identified in a new report that tracks child poverty rates across all 338 federal ridings. The anti-poverty group Campaign 2000 is hoping its report will prod the government to approve a soon-to-be-finalized poverty reduction strategy before next year's federal election, and enshrine its commitments in legislation. U.S. Indigenous protesters fight Trans Mountain. Indigenous protesters in Washington state are gearing up to fight the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion. Canada recently bought the project for $4.5 billion, but it doesn't only affect Canadian waters or lands. Many Indigenous activists in Washington trace their roots to both sides of the border and say they won't give up until the expansion is stopped. They're calling their fight against the project the Standing Rock of the North, comparing it to the fierce protests that stalled the Dakota Access Pipeline. Politics far from clean in Quebec. WHISTLEBLOWEERA former star witness in Quebec's corruption inquiry says the Liberals must be defeated in October's election in order to clean up politics in the province. Lino Zambito says most of the people convicted in the high-profile cases investigated by Quebec's anti-corruption unit have pleaded guilty and served no jail time, while key figures at the provincial level have barely been touched. Zambito's comments reflect a frustration in Quebec after recent acquittals in numerous high-profile fraud cases. University receives 1,140 art pieces from collector. Margaret Perkins has spent a lifetime following her passion. And upon her death in 2016 at the age of 100, the lifelong educator, art collector and Order of Canada recipient bequeathed a collection worth as much as $5 million to the school where she received a doctorate of fine arts. The University of Lethbridge Art Gallery received word last year that had donated her vast collection, which includes works by some of Canada's most celebrated artists. Also in the news, a public forum will be held in Halifax on prostitution and human trafficking in Nova Scotia. A general court-martial will be held in Halifax for SGT. Kevin McIntyre, a military police officer accused of sexual assault. Federal by-election today in the Quebec riding of Chicoutimi-Fjord. Sentencing arguments continue in Quebec City in the case of convicted mosque shooter Alexander Bissonnette. MP Stephen Fuhr, chair of the Commons Defense Committee, releases a report on Canada's involvement in NATO. Toronto Blue Jays closer Roberto Osuna will make his first appearance in a Toronto court on an assault charge. Alberta Premier Rachel Notley announces changes to her cabinet. BC Premier John Horgan makes an announcement in Prince George about new housing for Indigenous people.